You've reached the Char Hotline, your pep talk turned podcast. It's your direct line to unshakable confidence, unapologetic self-love, and the permission slip you didn't know you needed to show up as your true self. This is your safe space for a whole lot of heart, honesty, humor, and healing. I'm your host, Char, a self-love and confidence coach, your compassionately candid hype woman, and a woman of color on a mission to help you ditch the BS, cultural conditioning, your own self-doubt, or what society or your family says you should be. Together, we'll figure out what it means to embrace your true self, get out of your own way, set boundaries, and live a fulfilling life on your terms. Whether you're a recovering perfectionist, overcoming people-pleasing, here for the listeners' questions, or getting some actual tools, join me to feel seen, heard, and empowered. Tune on in and learn to love yourself first, always. Welcome back to the Char Hotline. Today I have three powerhouses. This episode, I want to talk about breaking intergenerational cycles. I don't know if you like this reference or not. I have the Chan sisters, Anita, Alyce, and Amy. Anita and I used to work together, so that's how we know each other, got connected. She's the founder of We Trash Talk, makes sustainability simple and accessible. And in 2018, she actually started I remember meeting you around this. It was like the Stop Sucking campaign with the city of Vancouver and really raising the awareness around dangers of single-use plastic straws. And she's just on a mission. She has been inspired by the resourcefulness of her Chinese grandma. And Anita believes that inspiration changes the behavior and drives sustainable living. And she leads by example in her own life. And I love getting her content and little digestible snippets for me to integrate into my life. And next we have Alyce Chan, a stand-up comedian, a writer and producer and speaker, and currently touring all over the country. I've caught a couple of her shows, and it's so much fun. It's such a good mom's night out. She is the creator of Mom.com NYC, and Alyce brings humor into the highs and lows of parenthood, which I can really resonate with. And she has has recognized Mom.com NYC as one of the 6 funniest parenting Instagram accounts. I agree. And so her comedic sketches have really showcased the reality of parenthood in a funny, relatable way. And I really appreciate it. And last but never least, Amy Chan, a leading relationship expert, founder of Renew Breakup Bootcamp, the world's first science-based retreat for healing heartbreak. The Observer calls her a relationship expert whose work is like that of a scientific Carrie Bradshaw. I love that. Her best-selling book was recommended by the New York Times, and she has been featured on Good Morning America, The Wall Street Journal, The Guardian, Access Hollywood, Vogue, and so much more. Thank you so much for all three of you for being on the Char Hotline. And I personally am super excited. I'm not going to lie. I had some imposter syndrome. I was fangirling. So I was like, oh my goodness, they agreed to be on my podcast. And for me, there's something relatable. You're all Chinese Canadian. I know, Alyce, you live in New York now. But being 3 sisters, I can totally relate. I come from a family of 3 sisters. I'm the youngest of the 3. And Anita, I don't know if you know this, Anita, but my partner would always often joke. I'll say something, I'm like, oh, you're mean. And he's like, no, I'm the nicest person you know. I was like, actually, you're not. And he'd be like, name who the nicest person you know is. I was like, Anita Chan from work. That was
only to the right people. No, just kidding.
So I am super excited to have you all 3 on. And we want to talk about how we all break intergenerational cycles and how you're all doing in your own way. So let's get into it. Does either one of you want to go first? Or I'm going to jump in with Anita. I'm going to go.
Yeah, well, me? Oh, okay, sure.
Okay.
Because I'm the eldest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Growing up in an Asian household as eldest daughter, were there any expectations or experiences that really shaped your own worth today?
Yeah, I think with growing up, I think a lot of people can relate in an Asian household, that, the model minority myth, where your parents expect you to be a certain way, marry a certain person, get married, have children, have a great job, and, that kind of thing. That was, a lot of that was kind of around us and not really told. There was also suppressing emotions and dealing things alone quietly. And I think because of that, knowing just now being a parent, I just realized it just a few years ago that, hey, that's not the way to live and not the way to raise a human being. And there's just so many other things that have come to light as I became a parent, because I think I'm so exhausted because I'm always trying to think, okay, what can I do that is not going to continue this trauma that I still have, that I'm working on. So that's the kind of thing that I'm working on, balancing the parenting, making sure that I'm raising this child with a cleaner slate. You'll have some of it probably, but trying to do my best every day. But it'll be with me forever, and it's part of me, and I try and embrace it. So that's something that we have to look for tools to just try to reverse it now. And it's a day-to-day thing for me personally to overcome them and to discover new ones.
Yeah, learning and unlearning, right?
Unlearning is a hard part. Yeah. Learning is the pivotal moment, and then the unlearning takes time. Yeah.
But good for you for doing it. It's so hard because that's like ingrained in us and how we're raised. And like Amy and Alice, like feel free to, I love the sisterly banter, so feel free to chime in. But it is so hard, right? Like I catch myself when I yell at my kid. I'm like, no. And then it's so hard because my partner didn't grow up in a household being yelled at. He's white. And so he's like, why are you losing your shit? It's so hard because I grew up in a very different household.
We also had this thing, I don't know, like Amy and I have a 9-year age gap. And so when she was born, I was told that I'd be responsible for her. Mm-hmm. So I already had that parenting role of using my mom's behavior to discipline her. As a sister, I would yell at her, I would hit her. Like I was just a child, and I thought, oh, this is the way to discipline my baby sister as a caretaker, and totally regretted it, of course. So it was just like, that was how close it was, that I'm going to model my mom's way of disciplining my baby sister. Sorry, Amy.
Because that's all you know, right?
That's all I knew. Yelling, raising your voice, scaring, right? And then becoming a real mom, it's like, whoa, that doesn't really work. Like it does come out sometimes, and it's getting lesser. But sometimes it's the easiest way is to yell. It's the easiest thing to do.
I admit I did a bit of that too, but I also did what my aunts and uncles
hit Amy? Hit Amy?
I never hit her.
No, Anita, you never hit me.
You never hit.
I thought I did in the mall.
No, you hit me.
Oh,
it was me.
Wrong sister.
Yeah, no. So the hitting was me. The practicing the stern parenting and lectures was with Amy, and I did a little bit of that too. I kind of like, when my parents weren't around, so I assumed some authority, and I would try to teach her stuff. And I also bullied her because we were not just raised by my mom and dad, but we were also raised by my aunts and uncles who had a huge gap, age difference from my mom. So, but like about 10 years difference. So we were always hanging out with my mom's side, my aunts and uncles, and they would bully Anita and me in a fun way. They thought, we were never physically
pretty
bullied,
traumatizing,
but teasing, like, hey, do you want to smell this jar? And they would fart in it.
Yeah, you would smell a jar of fart.
Yeah, it was just like nasty.
Or they would roll you up in a blanket and so tight you couldn't get out, and they would leave the room, and you would like, wait a sec.
No, then they would fart on you.
No,
they would do that. No,
that's what they did to me.
Anita did that to you.
Anita has forgotten half of what has happened because she is so traumatized. The game was called Hot Dog.
It's
Okay,
called Hot Dog. Well, that's what you got into.
The game is, you have a blanket. I do this to my kids the first half.
No.
You put the kid on a blanket and you roll them up to the end. Then you take the edge of the blanket, you whip it out under them so they roll off.
Oh, yeah,
safely.
yeah.
That's a hot dog game.
That's a hot dog.
Anita and I were rolled up, and my aunt and uncle would fart on my face because I was constrained. Anita, I don't know what happened. She claims that they left the
No,
room.
I had that too. They left the
Okay.
room, but they also fart in my face. It was
Yeah.
different versions of hot dog for
Yeah.
me.
So we did hot dog with Amy without the extra part. And
It's a fun part.
those are the games that they would play with us. And so Amy had some of the remnants of that from me. Except the farting part. I would never fart on Amy.
Are you
But
blurring
Amy was a
out?
really bad baby. Amy was a bad baby.
It'll be fine once it's rendered the
Oh,
cure.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amy was a bad baby. Not like she deserved it, but she was so bad. Like she was so bad that I didn't want kids. As a kid, you're just thinking, I don't want kids if that's what they are like. Like she was like unstoppable. Like
Yeah.
this little by the time she was 5, she was acting like a teenager. Like
Yeah. Amy kind of just self-made her. My
She's
mom and dad
self-made.
did not even sleep
What
together.
happened?
And then like my mom was pregnant 7.5 years later. I'm like, what happened?
How did that happen?
Yeah.
In retrospect now, so Anita and Alyce are parents. In retrospect, Amy's just like traumatized again. In retrospect now, what was Amy truly? Like she still resonate with the word bad. Like what was she really as a child now in retrospect?
I think she was just very smart and strategic and cunning, just like she is today.
Manipulative. Yeah, for sure. In a good way to like watching out for herself. Because honestly, I think Alyce, I can't speak for Alyce, but I self-sacrificed my whole life up until having my child. Like that leads to people pleasing. Doing things for people would make me feel validated. And so it was never about me. But Amy, I'm so happy that it was all about her.
Well, it's about how you
Mostly.
adapt to your environment.
That's true,
and
yeah.
Right. So as children, we are very brilliant at surviving the environment. And so I learned, okay, if I'm not going to get attention this way, I will get it that way. Because when you don't have a developed brain, you will learn, okay, oh, when I do this, I get some attention. So even if that attention is getting yelled at, it's some attention. So we all adapt, right? So Anita might have adapted by pleasing, and in psychology terms, that's a form of fawning. That's a survival response, right? And we all kind of default to that, and then we carry that when we are older. And it's brilliant as children. We are really brilliant at surviving, and it helps us in that time of life. And then as we get older, we see it wreak havoc in our relationships often. And then we have to really step back and see like, oh, wait, is that way actually helping?
I think it's also interesting that we grew up in different environments. Anita and I are only 18 months apart. So we saw how our parents struggled, worked hard as immigrant parents. We were very much together a lot of times. I still remember going to the store with them, staying and napping at the store. Once my parents had Amy, we were pretty well off. My dad's business was very successful, which led him to kind of chase after his gambling addiction even more. And he met a new group of peers who were also big gamblers. And so things kind of changed. My parents still worked a lot. We had a housekeeper at that time. So Amy was raised by our housekeeper, hardly saw my parents, didn't see my mom and dad together a lot. And so it was a very different environment shift.
Different parents. We had different parents compared to Amy. And we grew up with we were poor. We had to live with our grandparents for a while until my dad figured out his business, which was a storefront in Chinatown, who he got help from his dad. But in the meantime, we were living in a household where our grandfather, my mom's dad, disliked us because we weren't boys. I remember he would look at us with his arms crossed, like, you're not staying here. And he hated us. Like, I felt the hate.
He's awful.
I don't know if he hated us, but we were girls, and we had to live with them for a temporary while. And so that's another layer of generational from my mom's fathers, and thinking that this is okay, that our self-worth is nothing because we're girls. And that was hard to live too. And Amy didn't have to go through that, luckily. But of course, we all gain something from our experiences.
I think reinforcing that girls are not worthwhile they're irrelevant. And I remember in my 20s, my mom and I just bought her a TV. We drove home and she opened the trunk and she looked at the TV and she looked at me. She goes, "Oh, it's too bad you're not a boy because then you could help me lift this up." And I was really pissed that she said that. And I rolled up my sleeves. I was able to lift the TV up. And I was like, "Okay, where do you want it?" And she's like, "Oh, you can lift that up." She was actually amazed that her daughter was able to physically lift a TV into her living room. And I never forgot what she said because it hurt me so much. And I was like, wow, she really, really meant it. And it wasn't until I had my first child and she said, it's so great that you visit me, even though you're based in New York and you have your own family. Daughters always do that. Daughters always come back and visit. I'm so glad I have a daughter. I was like, whoa, okay, that's you just redeemed yourself, I guess.
But God forbid you would never have said anything to your mom when she
I
said
didn't,
that to you.
right? I
Of
never
course
said
not.
anything. Yeah, I just had a second kid. I was like, here's another kid. It's a boy.
Yeah, so I think Anita and Alice, you have boys. Knowing what you grew up with now and navigating that unlearning and learning for yourselves and how you were raised, how do you challenge those generational cycles and the systems that you were raised with while trying to teach your kids differently while also protecting their innocence?
I try not to yell. We got hit, we got spanked. I try not to use the fear-based method. I try. And 8 out of 10 times, I'm like trying to validate. I have to stop myself, be patient. I have to have the energy to do this, though, to validate their emotions, see eye to eye, connect first before we move on to trying to manipulate them to do whatever I want. But it's first connection. I try to connect. If it's
Appreciate the honesty.
yeah, you can get them to do whatever you want as long as you connect.
And it's like a balance, right? There's age appropriate things that they may be susceptible. And I think connection is always number one, which takes so much energy. But it's also like what I didn't have is have a voice. And I feel like when you get to have a kid, he's 6 now, you have to have confidence to have a voice. How do you get that confidence? Okay, it's like this chart. Getting to confidence takes this parents to trust you, to respect you, to be able to speak up, to feel included, so it's all these other things just to get that confidence part. And when you have confidence, there's unlimited things that a kid can do, right? So it's a real fine balance and being kind and you have to model it. You can't just do it. You can't just tell them and get books. Hey, read about it. Go with this auntie. She'll teach you. No, I have to do that with my husband. It's like, can you just pretend you're enjoying scrubbing the toilet? Like there's no gender roles in our house. We're trying very hard, right? No gender roles. If you can do it, clean it, so that's been another work in progress, is working on the partner part, right? And which is fine because it's everyone's process. So it's a work in process, and connection is key for sure. Connecting with a partner to do it and connecting with your kid.
Yeah, that's so true. The co-parenting, true partnership, right? And my mom lives with us, my Chinese immigrant mom lives with us.
Oh.
And she speaks English, but she'll like ask me in Cantonese. She's like, "Oh, like, does your husband still want more food?" I was like, "Mom, just ask him. Like, I'm not here to serve him, and you speak English." Like, I don't know what's happening, but it's like, yeah, that gender stereotype. So we're very. I have 2 girls, or presenting girls. They were born girls. We're very cognizant of like, oh, mommy and daddy will do the laundry. Mommy and daddy will do this, so that they don't associate that. And it's funny, I'm literally rereading my "Don't Stop Yelling as a Parent" guide because I'm solo parenting this weekend.
Oh, no.
I'm like, I need to remind myself. So thank you for the reminders. Alice, I love your stuff. Comedy is about being bold and loud and taking up space, and that goes and defies against all Chinese Asian women stereotypes. What was the moment you realized, and that if there was a catalyst moment, like of deserving to be loud and take up space?
I was around 9 or 10 years old, and I was very shy and quiet. And my teacher sat me down and said, "Okay, next year I'm going to put you in a different class." And I thought she was going to compliment me. She goes, "Alice, you are a mute." And I didn't understand what that meant. I thought it was a compliment until I learned later it meant someone who just didn't speak. And I was kind of hurt. And she said, because you're a mute and you don't talk, I'm going to put you in a different class where you don't know anybody and you're going to be forced to make new friends. And I got really scared because I had only two friends and they were going to be together in a different class. So I actually purchased a book. Scholastic Book Order had this book called How to Make Friends from A to Z. It no longer exists for certain reasons. I remember taking the book home and I read page A. It goes, A, do you have acne? Because if you have red bumps all over your face, no one's going to want to be with you because you're so ugly.
It's like jokes.
Yeah, and I was like, A, I don't have acne.
Comedy started.
Oh, no wonder.
And then I went to page B and C. I was like, okay, none of that applies to me. And then it goes, F, are you funny? Because people like to laugh. If you can make a joke, people are going to like you. I'm like, oh my God, I got to be funny. So I called up my aunt, who was like 13, 14 years older than me. I was like, how do I get to be funny? And she goes, oh, I have the greatest book for you. And she delivers this book to me. It's a red book and it says 101 dirty jokes. And she goes, it was Marion.
Obviously.
That's the coolest aunt. And she goes, rehearse some jokes and tell your friends. I was like, okay, got it. So I would memorize 10 to 12 jokes. The next day I walked in the class. I was like, it was recess time, and before everyone was let out, I said, who wants to hear dirty jokes? And all the boys stayed behind. And I started telling the jokes to the boys, and they were all laughing. I was like, oh, this feels good to tell jokes and make people laugh. And these people are actually listening to me. No one used to listen to me until I had dirty jokes. And then I just started to, I'm like, okay, I have to make people laugh. I start doing impersonations. I quickly lost the classroom. My teacher found out what happened and she kicked us all out. So I had to try to figure out another creative way to make people laugh. But that was kind of like the start of it. Then it got suppressed. And then 13 years later, it came back in a different form.
Oh, no, your comedy career started young. That's so cool. Oh, I like that. How has your family responded to, like your sisters and then and extended family, your parents mostly, I'm thinking in my head, but how has your family responded to you stepping into such a public and expressive career and something that's very non-traditional Chinese? And what's been the biggest shift for how you see yourself now? Like, yes, you did it as a 9, 10-year-old out of like survival. And now you're doing it hopefully out of choice. How do you see yourself now, and how does your family respond to that?
Well, I don't have to default to dirty jokes anymore to make people laugh. And my sisters are my biggest fans. They think I'm super funny, on and offline. They're very supportive. They're always like, get him, Alyce. Yeah, you're awesome. And it's like, I have my two sisters. I don't need friends. Like, they are my pillars. My mom is more supportive now. I don't know why, what has shifted, but she's like, you're funny, you're goofy. Like, she knows that I'm goofy. She doesn't understand my jokes. My dad never knew I did comedy. I think he still thought I worked at a bank. I've worked at the bank for years and then I quit and he never talked about my career after that. And I remember I performed at the Surrey Casino. There was a comedy club underneath a casino and my dad was in the hospital that night and went back to see him after my performance. I was like, Dad, remember that casino in Surrey that I used to go to? I was there today. I was performing comedy. And then he goes, oh my gosh, how much did you make? I'm like, well, you don't make a lot for headlining. I said $300 and his eyes popped up and he was so happy. He was like, whoa, $300, that's a lot of money. And I quickly realized he thought I won $300 at the casino. And I'm like, oh, wait, I'm not going to burst his bubbles. I'm not going to burst his bubble. He thinks he's more proud that I won money at the casino than earning $300. So I was like, I'm going to let him think that. And he was just like, so giddy. He's like, that, you're so lucky. You're so lucky. That was so good. That was so good. I'm like, I'm going to let my dad have that moment.
That was like endorphins for him.
Yeah, he was so proud. I was like, my daughter won $300 at the casino.
She made it. Yeah.
Oh. How have your shift that changed and how you see yourself then, Nelly?
I think I have less doubt about myself. I feel like people do want to hear my struggles as a mom, as an Asian woman in her late 40s. And I feel empowered because I have this skill set, and I realize that humor is very important. And I underestimated it all these years, and I think it's a very powerful
Healing.
and healing, very healing for many people. And I love that I can bring this gift to people.
I love how you said that. 'Cause yeah, sometimes like, even like attending funerals and like in the most serious dark times, I feel like I'm like thinking up jokes and skits in my head because that's just how I like cope. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
me too.
I'm not allowed to go to funerals because I just want to make a joke. I think I was at that show in Surrey at the casino
I
that
think
you
you
went
were.
to.
Oh, I think you
Yeah,
were, Char.
that's why I saw you in the bathroom.
Yeah,
Yes,
you were. That's
that's
what I thought. I
right.
was like, I think I saw
That was
you.
like such a long time ago.
Mhm.
But honestly,
Yeah.
Alice, the humor, like our dad passed away 2023, at the end of the year. And I think, man, you need humor. Like it was our outlet.
Yeah.
And we incorporated in everything we did. However, even the eulogy, like, is that what it's called at the funeral? The eulogy?
Mm.
Yeah.
Alice made it into a comedy show.
But no one laughed because people were like
We're
scared
scared. They were like,
to
"Oh, should
laugh.
we laugh?"
I was
They were
like,
all
Should
like,
to laugh.
that singer didn't work. That punchline, gotta throw that out. That didn't work. Read
But you know
read
what?
the room.
"Yeah, read the
I
room."
remember that because I had lost my dad a year before, and
Oh,
so seeing
sorry.
Anita and Alice's content and their grief and going through that really helped me too because I didn't really cope with my grieving, and so that really helped me. I don't know. I feel like a connection to you all, even though I'm meeting some of you for the first time. But it's funny you also mentioned the bank thing because my dad, I didn't really tell him like all my different career changes. And when I started coaching and working from home again, he and my mom lived in my house, and I'd go upstairs and have lunch with them. And one day my dad's like, in Cantonese, he's like, I don't get it. How do you still work at home? I was like, what do you mean? Like I work from home. And he thought I was like a teller in like when I was 18 or 19, I'm like 30 something now. And he's like, how do you give cash to people? I'm like, you think I'm still a teller? He's like, how do you give cash to people from
Bless him.
home? I was like,
Cute.
So
okay, yeah, Dad, I
cute.
have a different job now, but okay, cool. Because being a life coach, you'd have no idea what that means. Being a event planner, you had no idea. So we just stuck with me being a teller because it's just something he understood.
So,
But I haven't been a teller for many, many years. Thank you. Amy, I'd like to jump to you. You are showing up in a different way. What in relationships and breakups, what is with not our, but like how we were raised as Chinese Canadians, what was the hardest belief about love and relationships that you had to unlearn to make that shift to do the work that you do and how you show up in the world?
I think since I was really young, I was waiting for my version of a prince to change my life. And I think that this comes from many different, why I got this idea came from just being indoctrinated to all the fairy tales. Like I watched The Little Mermaid 22 times, like a year after it came out. And so it's a combination of like the stories I was consuming. I think witnessing my parents' dynamic and seeing my mom very depressed and in my eyes as a child, very helpless to my father, I absorbed some of that as well. And so I think all of these different things just made me think like one day a man was going to come and transform my life. And that was the plan. One of the things that I think I've broken now, whether it's generational trauma or cultural or societal trauma, is my narrative is no longer someone or something will come change my life. And I think I've broken that relationally. Like I love my partner. But before I would see a romantic relationship as 80% of my life. And so I would act in a way where they were so much of my foundation, so much of my worth, so much of my identity. And now my partner, my romantic relationship is 50%. And I look at my other relationships and sources of love, whether it's friends, family, giving back in to the community, the work that I do, that takes up 50%. So because of that, I act accordingly and I really proactively nurture those different types of love. And it's a very empowering feeling.
Yeah, I hope my partner used to get offended, and I'm like, I don't need you. I don't need no man. But I was like, but I want you, and I choose to have you. He's chosen to embrace that now, but that's really empowering, right? Because you don't need someone to save you. You can take care of yourself and save yourself. Amy, a lot of women, especially in the Asian culture, are taught that suffering in silence is noble. And I mean, Anita and Alice, feel free to chime in too. What's your message to, whether they're Asian or not, someone who's stuck in that mindset still of suffering in silence?
Yeah, I think it's not just Asian women. I think men are taught that at
Mhm.
a very young age. They're socialized that to not express your feelings. And what that can do is it can cause people to get very disconnected from their feelings and not understand when they are feeling something. It's very overwhelming and they can't pinpoint that, oh, it's sadness, grief, and anger. And then they will kind of react in a way that's not healthy or helpful. And I think understanding that whatever is not expressed or released is going to compound. And there's different ways of releasing in healthy ways. So I think just venting and complaining actually, if you look at the research, is actually not good for you. It actually reinforces the negative beliefs and makes you feel very disempowered. However, speaking to a therapist or speaking to someone who can help you look at things in a different way, expressing how you feel, whether it's through a conversation or through journaling, all of these things help release it so it's not compounding in the mind. So I really look at things in a very scientific and practical way, but the way of like, let's just be quiet, let's not say anything, let's avoid conflict. And I do believe in Asian culture, we're taught the value of keeping harmony and peace. And in some ways that really works. And in other ways it doesn't. And I think for every single person and context, you have to learn to see, is this way of being, which might have been a habit from the past, might have served you in the past, is it serving you now? And if not, then you might want to change it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like this takes me back to thinking of my parents of like saving face, right? All of that is like, we can't show people our failures, our emotions, the reality. This is how we are succeeding. And it's that term saving face is always looming in our household. Like, we got to show up this way. We got to show that we have a house and a car, even though we were in debt. Like, it's just that way of living is, yeah, it's just crazy. Like, I can't imagine doing that right now. Like, waste of time.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Thank you. This all really resonates with me. And probably a lot of other people listening. I love the content that the three of you create together. How has your sisterhood and your relationships with each other, the three of you, influenced your individual journeys of breaking generational cycles? And Alice, when Alice said that you two, her sisters are her only friends that she needs, I don't know if she was telling a joke or being facetious or not.
Oh, I'm being serious.
Oh,
I don't have any friends. I I tell my sisters the closest, my secrets, everything. And I maybe it does a disservice to me because then I don't proactively reach out to people. But I'm trying to do that more this year, just reaching out to people and making time for good, genuine connections. But they're my kind of outlet. Like, we get to be ourselves and we appreciate our differences. We're unique in our own way, but we are all very goofy and silly when we're three together. There's the energy is like, I feel so lucky to have them too. And I always thank my mom for giving me two sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the coolest thing is we don't really have our egos involved when we're together. We make fun of each other. We let our guard down. we're very safe in a safe space. And it's true for me too. It's for a long time that my sisters were my only friends, and that was to a disadvantage because, Alyce isn't here, and it has disabled me in making real connections with other people. So I do want to get over that hump and making that very intentional this year, because that's again another thing that I'm overcoming as trauma is I've shrunk myself for so long because that was the way I grew up. Shrink yourself, hide your emotions, show up for the good things of what you can show. So I want to unshrink myself. And yeah, I could use social media, but I want to make more connections this year, especially to build that community of like-minded people. And it's easier now for me because not only I'm not shrinking myself, I've know my values now. And I think people are living, honestly, they don't know their values. And so it's like they make these like subconscious efforts and not knowing of how this helps me and the community. And they're just living life, which is great. But with my own values, I am intentionally seeking people who have the same values as me so we can grow and deepen those relationships. When you don't have the same values, it can't grow. You're just connecting and deconnecting. That's it. But you want to grow with people who have the same values as you.
Yeah, I like my sisters. They're cool.
That's so sweet.
Like Amy,
How
you do a
have-
great job of like she has such a great support system outside of us, like her friends.
Amy has a lot of friends.
She has a lot of friends, and they're there for her, like no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's something I admire, and I do try to learn from her. Baby steps.
She puts the effort
She
in.
puts a lot of effort, and that's
You put the
so
effort
great.
in, you'll get what you
get
put
what
in,
you
right?
Right, for sure.
I
I'm
think
kind
because
of
I used to be a bad friend.
Oh, maybe.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was a really good friend, maybe, and now I'm just a bad friend.
Yeah.
I was always a good friend. So
Also, Amy is very extroverted, so she loves to be with people. A lot of people, Like she used to want to. Like I like to be by myself. I'm really okay with it, but like Amy loves,
people.
yeah.
She'd be like,
She would make up excuses to sleep in the same room as me when we were kids. Like she would come in my room. She goes, "Can I sleep in your room today? Because the carpet's wet. We just had it cleaned." And I would be like, "Oh yeah, you can't sleep in a room with a wet carpet." I'm like, "Duh, you're not sleeping on the floor."
Well, it worked.
well,
It did work.
Amy's always like, anyone want to FaceTime now? It's like anyone want to sleep over?
Yeah.
Anyone want to have it's cute.
She's like
It's
a golden retriever.
Oh my
That's
god,
a
you're
younger
golden
sister too.
retriever. Golden retriever energy.
I think when I dated Andy,
Andy.
I was a bad friend. Like in my first real relationship,
Yeah.
I just stopped having friends.
You were
I was like,
invested with
yeah,
Andy.
I was like, I have this guy. We watch television and eat McDonald's together every night,
Mhm.
and that was my life. And when we broke up, I was like, oh wait, I don't have any friends left, and I was like, I'm never gonna do this again. This sucks. And I also had that happen to me, and I really I don't respect people who are codependent and put their entire life on someone else. And it triggers me because I used to be that. And that's why I'm so passionately not like that. But yeah, I people are like, wow, you've done so much in relationships. And I think one of my greatest accomplishments is what I've done in friendships. And it is a proactive effort. Like tomorrow I'm throwing a success shower for my friend. And I'll do these things because they're really important. And it's you have to nurture it just like you would nurture a romantic relationship.
That's so sweet. Sarah, what's a success shower?
So I don't have children and I don't go to baby showers or bridal
Don't
showers.
invite her to baby
I
showers.
think those too.
Me too.
And so for the friends who aren't having baby showers or maybe not having children or getting married, but they have other things in their life that are worth celebrating. Why aren't we celebrating those? So
for sure.
my friend just worked her ass off for 5 years to climb up in a company. She just became CEO, and I'm like, we need to celebrate that. She's like, no, it's okay. I'm like, no, we're gonna get a cake and we're going to celebrate. And instead of bringing physical gifts, each person is going to bring a gift of wisdom, and we're going to share something that we've learned in our journey in the workforce, and that's what we're going to do. So yeah, I'm trying to do things like that.
I love that. And
I
you know
love
what,
that.
Amy, what you're doing right now, it's like, okay, so I went to 2 funerals like back to back last weekend, and it really was like, and I don't want to say this, but I actually enjoyed it because it was so like sad but heartwarming. But I learned so much from that because making memories with friends and family is what you leave with. And that's what people share is like what we did together. Even we had coffee every day. We met, we did this, we traveled. It's like, and I think this is what Amy's giving, these gifts of memories. And it's more important than ever now. And I'd always believed in that, but like I truly believe this is what people believe. This legacy is giving memories.
Time is the most precious commodity to give yourself, to give your
Yeah.
friends the time, and memories are shaped and built from that. It's
Mhm.
what you can give,
Yeah.
and you leave without time. It's the most precious commodity.
Mhm. Time and energy is so expensive. Good energy, it's expensive. Like it's the wealth that we need to protect it now, right? And that's what I'm, rather than me trying to please everyone and trying to make friends with everyone that talks to me, like, no, there's something I don't work, it's not worth sharing because this is my sacred story and my energy that is not worth giving to you because of how you're treating me. And it's like all that, it's not as it's different now for me, of course. Of course now I don't have time because I have a child, but it's
I
it's
think,
less friends, I think, when you get older. I
yeah, when you
think.
get older, you have to allocate your time a lot
Mhm.
more wisely because you have less of that, and you have to figure out if I say no to this, that means a big yes to that other thing,
Yeah.
which I'll gain a lot more from.
Yeah.
Protecting your peace, protecting your energy. And
Yeah.
yeah, now, like, as we get older, I'm like, it's quality over quantity.
Yep.
When we're younger, it's like a popularity contest who has the most friends, right? But it's quality. And Anita, it's interesting you bring up funerals because that made me think of, at funerals, people talk about like how amazing this person was. And it's been coming up in my feed and stuff. It's actually on our birthdays or whatever, anytime during the year, at our birthdays, have people go around the table and say what they love about you while you're living, and you can
Yeah.
receive it and
It's
sharing that
nice.
love.
Yeah,
So
I love
thought I'd
that.
share that with you because I was like, I feel like you'd love that.
I love that. I'll take that. Let's
Thank
do it.
you. Yeah. Reflecting back on everything we've talked about in your own individual growth and personal growth, as well as sisters, what would you give your teenager younger self? What advice would you give your teenager younger self when it comes to really embracing your authentic self, despite generational trauma or cycles or patterns and things that we were taught and told? What would a piece of advice you give your younger self now?
Amy?
About how to embrace our authentic selves.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a lot easier. There's all these people who are like, be authentic and don't care what people think. And I think it's a very privileged position to be in that. Like, I had to earn it. Like, if I was just my authentic self at age 21, I wouldn't have been able to keep a job, right? Like, like now I run my own company. I make money. I have lots of friends. Like, sure, I could be who I want to be, and I don't really have repercussions of that. But I think it's important, like, it's very easy on Instagram to be like, just be this. And there's a reality of life, which is it's friggin' hard. And so I think getting clear on what your values are and making decisions based on those values, even if your emotions of the day tell you otherwise, or even if someone else's energy is trying to really influence you, always having your values as your compass is so important, because all the times that you don't act according to your values, they're like little cuts, and your soul gets cut and cut and cut until you're at a point where there's such a disconnect from who you are and your soul and what you're presenting to the world. And I think that causes a lot of suffering. So yeah, I guess I would tell my younger self is get clear on your values, and navigate however you have to do in these industries. I worked in companies which were dominated by men, and build the muscles of being able to express yourself and communicate and negotiate and deal with your emotions, because it's a skill.
Yeah, I think to follow that, I feel like finding values is very hard when you're young because of the peer pressure and now with the social media. But I think when you can take up space and not doubt yourself, like I have something to say, if you're feeling it in your heart and mind, and I'm just taking myself back as a child because I didn't have tools to know what values meant. I didn't even know what values were. I had no idea. So, but I always had this voice inside me. But no, I had to shrink myself. I'm like, no, I'm not worth listening to. I don't want to take up space. Even my photos, I'm always covering my face. You know how Mariah Carey said she'd always was shy about her left side and she would have her bangs. I'd always had like covered half of my face because I was trying to shrink myself in any capacity. So if I could tell my teenage self now, and teenagers out there with all this peer pressure, your voice is your authenticator thermometer. That is how you find it, and just say it. And if it is not received, go to the next group of people. You just have to figure it out and learn, because you're not going to know as a kid. Like, it's hard now. Kids don't read as much. They're just influencing in a different way. Parents are different. So find your voice, don't shrink yourself, take up space, and just keep doing it. And it's kind of parallel to what Amy's saying as well.
Yeah, I think to add to that too, because of so many years of suppressing my voice and being small as well, if you have a nagging question, if something doesn't sit right, ask, always ask. And it took me years, like I would be uncomfortable in a situation and I was like, I wish I asked that. And now I'm doing that. And now I'm like, wait, I'm just going to ask that. And you'll be surprised at what opens up to you. And at the end of the day, just make sure you're kind. Don't be a freaking asshole. Like, be kind. And I teach my kids all this time. Like when we do the parent teacher conference, they're like, oh, wait, he's focused on this. He's great at writing. He can improve on math. I'm like, okay, yeah, but is he kind? And I remember a teacher asking me, she's like, for you to even ask me that question just says a lot about your kid. And yes, he is kind. I'm like, that's all I need to know. I know he can do well in math if he gets a tutor or if he focuses. I want him to be not that asshole. And that's from years of being bullied. And I do not condone that, will not support that. And I always tell my kids, you must include everybody. And laugh every day. There's always something that's funny. We're going to be in very the life that we have is hard. The world is challenging to navigate. And if you can't laugh, you're going to cry. Just find something that makes you laugh. It's a different perspective. And when you change your perspective on life, it's much easier.
I like that. If you're not going to laugh, you're going to cry. You should put that on a t-shirt.
On a t-shirt, a baseball cap.
Trademark. Mom-com.
Yeah. I like that. And I'm going to steal that one. It was like asking the teachers, like, are they kind? Because I just had like a mama spiral yesterday. My 5-year-old, obviously it wasn't her own words. She repeated like, oh, I'm struggling in math. That's why I'm in this other class. And I was like, and literally I was getting ready in the bathroom. I'm like writing this whole email. I'm going to like lose it on some teacher. And then I realized I can't control all the situations she's going to be in. So I was like, are you kind? I was like, she is kind. And I'm like, you're just learning at your own pace. And that Chinese in me is like spiraling. Oh my gosh, she sucks at math.
Calm down the tiger, Mom.
Yeah. I don't think I told Mom I failed math grade 10. I failed grade 10 math and chemistry.
No, you can't tell her.
I didn't tell her.
Abandoned.
No, yeah.
Thank you for that. To close and wrap it up, I thank you so much for all of your time and energy. I like to ask my guests, if you had to choose a song, I name all my episodes after a 90s millennial song. If you had to choose a song to be your anthem right now, what would it be and why? And if bonus points if you're going to sing it.
Holy, that's a hard one.
That was a question she gave us in advance. But it is a hard one, Char.
I like
I this episode Family Affair.
Yeah.
breaking
I
intergenerational
have to
cycles.
say I like ushers in the club. You know, it's like community. It's about people. It's like energy in the club.
I'm like Tears for Fears. Everybody wants to rule the world because I don't even know the lyrics. I just love it. It's just a time of my life where I was really happy. Yeah.
So here's I have a thing. I don't listen to lyrics.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's
I
coming
don't
to
like
mind.
Amy like Barry White.
So like, wait, can I tell you? This guy liked me and back in the day, and I made him a mix CD.
Oh, blue hair guy.
No, it was someone else. And anyway, so I put all these songs on it because I just love the tune.
Oh my gosh, your CDs.
And then he thought that the lyrics was for him.
Oh my god.
Jodeci.
And then I saw him like
So-
on Twitter about like, wow, when blah 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 sends you a mix
Pony.
CD and like you finally understand how they've been feeling. I'm like, oh my gosh, no. So anyway, Fix You from Coldplay.
Oh, nice.
Very safe, very safe.
Okay. I also want to change. I also want to add
I'll change mine
mine
now.
because Whitney Houston was my idol. I want to dance with somebody because it has more meaning behind that. Because when I was 11, I did my first lip syncing talent show to I Want to Dance with Somebody, and I told two girls, let's do it. But I didn't make myself as Whitney because I was like, I'm not good enough to be Whitney. So I picked like the pretty Italian girl. I'm like, Maria, you're Whitney. I'll just play the drums. So I took like chopsticks and I just played the drums. And I was like, I'm good with just being in the background. I don't have to be Whitney. And then last week I was at an elementary school stage at the auditorium. Everybody was sober. It was like parent comedy show. And I stopped and I was like, I just realized my second performance is on the stage at an elementary school. And I am Whitney.
Yes.
Take the mic?
And I was like, I'm holding the mic.
All right,
I'm in the forefront. I'm making people laugh. And I stopped. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in elementary school. This is my second performance in 32 years.
Wait, so did you
Wow.
perform?
A comedy show, not as Whitney.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
she's not a singer. Have you heard
It's a
Alyce sing?
metaphor. I was Whitney because I didn't put myself in
metaphor.
that.
It's a metaphor.
I was headlining.
Alyce is a headliner like Whitney.
And I would never sing. I'm not a good singer.
She's
I
not a
can
good
never
singer.
sing.
Circle.
Do it.
Oh,
Full
wait.
circle.
Amy also likes the song Hope for the Rainbow.
Somewhere over the rainbow.
Yes, I
It's
do.
her song.
It's her
That's
song.
anthem. Sing
It's
it,
my
Amy.
song.
Amy, you sing it.
3, 2, 1, go.
It's so much passion. She's almost crying when she sings it.
She sings it all the time.
And you hold on to your chest.
Someday I'll wish upon a star. That's it. That's all you get.
You have a
You have to
good one.
karaoke with me to get the
Gotta pay
rest.
for more.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anything you want to add? Closing remarks.
No, this was fun.
Yeah,
This
I'll
was-
have a closing remark.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
of course
Look.
you will.
To my younger self, don't buy Louis Vuitton bags. Invest that money in the S&P 500. Learn about how to grow your wealth, not just about making money. This
Yeah.
is so important.
It is
Okay.
life skill.
All right, that's it.
That was a good one.
Yeah, and younger self, please do not go after the trends of buying the viral bag, the next sweater, the next Stanley mug. Please, that's all a gimmick. They all return that shit, and it ends up in the thrift store. Do not find your style on social media. Find it within yourself and in your closet. What you have already is chef's kiss. Okay, that's yours.
Oh,
like that.
The younger self, take care of your skin.
Oh yeah.
Wear a hat.
Put
Sunscreen.
sunscreen on your face. I'm just putting
Sunscreen.
sunscreen on my face every day
Put
now.
good sunscreen, not the shit type. Get it from Korea.
And don't eat
Yeah.
makeup. You're gonna love that youthful look, and you want to keep that youthful look. You know, don't wear all that makeup.
You don't
Don't
need
need it.
skincare. Like, there's like 9-year-olds doing skincare right
Yeah,
now.
no, not no nail. No, tut, no.
Drink
no.
lots of water.
Save your money.
We could be on here all day,
I know.
Char.
Thanks for tuning in to the Char Hotline. I hope you're walking away feeling seen, supported, and a little more at home in yourself. Healing isn't always easy, but remember, you don't have to do this alone. I got you. Every time you choose self-love, self-trust, and self-compassion, you're rewriting old stories and stepping into your damn power. And I'm all about helping you get there. Got a burning question, a messy situation, or a soul shift you're navigating? Please feel free to slide into my inbox with a Dear Char letter at charwongrichardsoncom/Dear Char, or check the show notes for the link. And let's unpack it together in a future episode. Until next time, love yourself first, always. Your hype woman, Char.